Hi, dreamers. Well, it's been another interesting month as I'm fully living off of my investment income. But boy, has this been a challenging month for options. And many traders lost a ton and just did not do well. So I'll show you how I did and what I did. Also, I've hit a major milestone this month that I cannot wait to show you in my cumulative chart. So once again, there's a lot to be learned from this month's experience of being a multi-million-dollar investor. So let's get to it. Today I'll review the end of the month totals where I show you my dividend and options income. This month I made over $19,500 in investment income. So let's take a look at the detail. So here we are in the spreadsheet, and the first thing I thought we'd do is maybe take a quick trip down memory lane so I can show you how my dividend income has grown quarter over quarter. And you can see here fourth quarter of 2021, I made $13,253 in dividends. And then in Q1 of 2022, $16,754. You can see how that grew to $18,196 in Q2 of 2022, and $19,865 in Q3. And then I broke the $20,000 mark in the fourth quarter of 2022. Fast forward to the beginning of last year, and I made over $21,000 the first quarter, and over $23,000 the second quarter. And this is when I started really having to live off of my dividends and liquidating a little bit in order to pay for life debts. So you can see it kind of flatlined from Q3 to Q4 through Q1. And here we are in Q2 of 2024, and you can see it start to accelerate again with over $25,000 earned in Q2 of 2024. And so here we are in July of 2024, and I made over $9,627 in dividends. So let's take a look at that detail. You can see overall, I made the bulk of this in week 1, with steady checks coming in throughout week 3, 4, and 5. And so the month started off with about $15 from SCHG, which is a new long-term position I'm building, followed by $7 in VUG, $7 in GPC, $15 from VBR, which is a small cap ETF play for me, and $25 from McKesson. I got $125 from my rogue payment of Devo, some of which happens at the beginning of the month and others clock in at the end, and $200 from Maine. I got $225 from QQQX, over $830 from PTY, just $2 from a small position at a VGT, and $318 from VNQ, which is a REIT ETF. I got $121 from SLF, and pretty much nothing from a test position in SPYT. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that this is how I do research. I'll buy one share and then sort of watch the position or ETF for about a month before I decide if I like what I see and want to add more, or decide that either now is not a good time or never is a good time. So for now, SPYT is a test. And week 1 rounded out with over $2,000 from JEPQ, which, as you know, I have over $250,000 invested in JEPQ and have done many dedicated videos on this particular fund, including my recent one of how safe it is, where I did a deep dive into the ELNs. So check that out if you're interested. Going into week 2, you see over $250 from GPIX, which I also did a dedicated video about Goldman's derivative funds, and $46 from GTY, a REIT. In week 3, I got $9 from APLE, $38 from Stag, $51 from Cardinal Health, $185 from Realty Income, $89 from WPC, $212 from BCE, which I recently liquidated in favor of some other opportunities, especially because some of these income derivative funds are hitting the mark in terms of being broad-based, income-producing, and somewhat less volatile. I got $229 from FRT, over $500 from STWD, another $165 from Maine, and here's another test position, YMAG. Going into week 4, I got over $800 from QQQI, which I also did a dedicated video on, and over $1,500 from SPYI, another dedicated video I did. And what's nice about these is that they are high yield and monthly. And to finish out the month, I got $79 from CM and over $300 from BNS. Both of these are Canadian banks. You can see one share here of QQQ, which I use as an indicator to monitor, and also a small position in SPYI, which is another monitoring position. I got $145 from BST, $131 from SVOL, which I might do a dedicated video on, another $380 from my favorite Devo, and then $551 from SPAXX, which if you watched my portfolio strategy video, you know is just a cash position that's essentially like interest on the cash that I've set aside to use for cash secured puts. And this is how I generate my options income, which I'll cover in a second. And there you have it, the $9,627 that I received in dividend income in July. So let's go to my options income. And this month you can see I made $9,908 in options income in July. And that's quite a bit less than I made in April of 2024, but more in line with how I did in May and June. And part of the reason for the decline is that the markets have really been choppy and much more difficult to predict, at least for me. And so by and large, I took a very conservative approach to July. I sold some month-long McKesson and BRKB that worked out pretty well, but didn't make a lot in terms of premium. I had a few duds on Dell, Microsoft, and Google, which all had significant tumbles this month. But at the end of the month, I made up some ground with some winners on Nvidia, SPXL, SOXL, IBM, and Amazon. And the learning here is really the same as every month, which is my dividends are steady, predictable, and reliable, and really what I use to pay my everyday bills. But with options, it's really what the market is going to give you. And so I'm glad I have it as a nice to have instead of a must have, because it can be very difficult to just live off of options. And the last thing you want to do is feel like you have to take excess risk in order to pay your bills, because that's not going to work out well. So for this month, I mostly hung back and watched and took a very conservative approach, and I'm glad I did. But hopefully in the coming months I can ramp up a little bit more, and at least I didn't lose my shirt. And that brings me to everyone's favorite part, the cumulative investment income chart. And this shows my cumulative investment income as of July of 2024. So let me quickly orient you to this graph, focusing in on July. In blue, you can see my pure dividend income from 2022 of $44,000. And then in 2023, my pure dividend income was over $55,000. And here we are in the dark green. In 2024, just my dividend income for the year is $59,279. But if you've been following me, you know that I started my options journey in 2023 in January. And so the yellow bar is my dividend plus option income. And last year, as of July, I had made over $88,000 and ended the year at $142,758, which was a dramatic increase for me and a big aha that I needed to focus on and really learn options. And so here we are in July of 2024, and I broke the $150,000 mark with my dividends plus options plus interest. Investment income so far this year of $150,433. Guys, this is just a transformation for me, and I cannot believe how well this strategy is working for me. I've got the foundation of safer, reliable dividend income, plus the risk-taking part of options, and that added bonus of the double dip strategy, which I covered in my portfolio strategy video, with the interest on the cash that I'm also using for cash secured puts. And honestly, this whole thing feels like a triple dip, and I wish someone had taught me how to do this many, many years ago. So where will I net out by the end of this year? I'm still thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of $250,000 to $300,000. Your guess is as good as mine, so stay tuned. You know, the last thing I wanted to add this week is just words of encouragement, because I can imagine myself watching this 10 years ago thinking, there's no way I would ever get there. This is someone who's rich and who has money, and I'll just never be in her shoes. So just a quick reminder, I started 20 years ago with $0. Absolutely nothing. And if you watched my personal series on how I actually got here, I'm hoping that that shows you that through hard work, focus, and dedication, anybody can start from zero and end up exactly where I'm at, because it's a repeatable process that anybody can do. The biggest part of this journey is for you to just decide, do you want this lifestyle? And what are you willing to do and sacrifice in order to get it? Because I fully believe anybody out there can achieve this. If I can do it with absolutely no financial help or financial guidance, you can do it. Guys, thanks for joining me every week, and I'll see you soon. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this dividend income update. And if you want a richer, real-time experience with me, you can always follow me on Instagram or X. And if you're doing your own research using Seeking Alpha, feel free to find the link below to subscribe if you want, no pressure. As always, I encourage you to do your own research, then implement and learn by putting it into practice. And as a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor, so keep in mind these videos are for entertainment and inspiration only. I'll see you on the flip side.